A story that has sent shockwaves through both the MLB world and all of Japan is now dominating headlines during one of the most anticipated spring training camps in recent memory. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the Los Angeles Dodgers' prized ace and the most expensive pitcher in baseball history, has made a declaration that nobody expected to hear this soon, and the reaction from Japan has been nothing short of explosive. According to multiple sources close to the Dodgers organization, everything began when Yamamoto stepped into a meeting with pitching coach Mark Prior and manager Dave Roberts with a message that left the room stunned. He was not there to discuss a cautious return timeline. He was not there to talk about pitch count limits or gradual workload buildup. Yamamoto walked in and told the coaching staff directly that he is ready to be the ace they signed him to be. Not a project, not a work in progress, but a frontline starter prepared to carry this rotation from opening day. The room, by all accounts, went very quiet. To understand why this moment carries so much weight, you have to go back to where this story really begins. Yamamoto arrived in Los Angeles before the 2024 season carrying the largest pitching contract in MLB history. 12 years, $325 million. The Dodgers were not signing a prospect or a gamble. They were signing the most dominant pitcher in Japanese baseball history, a three-time consecutive NPB Sawamura Award winner, the equivalent of the Cy Young Award, and a player widely considered to be a once-in-a-generation arm. The expectations in Los Angeles were enormous, but the expectations in Japan were on an entirely different level. For Japanese baseball fans, Yamamoto was not just another player making the jump to the major leagues. He was a statement. He was proof that the NPB could produce not just solid contributors to MLB rosters, but genuine superstars. When Yamamoto signed with the Dodgers, millions of fans in Japan stayed up through the night watching the press conference. His jersey sold out within hours. Analysts on Japanese sports networks devoted hours of airtime to breaking down every detail of his mechanics, his splitter, his overall command. He was, and still is, a national treasure in the truest sense of the phrase. That is precisely why what happened next made the story so painful. In his very first start of the 2024 season, Yamamoto suffered an injury that would define his entire year. An elbow issue that had been carefully monitored suddenly worsened, and the Dodgers made the difficult decision to shut him down entirely. He underwent Tommy John surgery, the same procedure that has ended and reshaped the careers of countless pitchers before him. Just like that, the most anticipated pitching debut in Dodgers history was over before it truly started. The reaction in Japan was devastating. Sports news channels ran the story on loop. Former NPB stars expressed their concern on national television. Fans flooded social media with messages of support, but also with the quiet, unspoken fear that perhaps the pressure of the major leagues, the longer season, the more aggressive hitters, had been too much too soon. Back in Los Angeles, the Dodgers publicly remained calm. Privately, however, sources indicate there were serious discussions about how to manage the long-term expectations surrounding Yamamoto's return. The concern was not just his physical recovery. It was also the psychological weight he was carrying. When you sign a player for $325 million and he goes down before throwing 20 major league innings, the pressure that follows him into his rehabilitation is unlike anything most athletes ever experience. An analyst familiar with the Dodgers' player development approach commented, Yamamoto's situation was uniquely difficult because the financial weight and the national attention never went away during recovery. Every bullpen session he threw in Arizona was being reported in Japan the same day. That kind of external spotlight on a rehabilitation process is genuinely rare in professional sports. But Yamamoto is not an ordinary player, and he has never responded to pressure the way ordinary players do. Throughout his entire recovery process, those inside the Dodgers organization consistently described the same thing. A pitcher who was quiet, focused, methodical, and completely unwilling to feel sorry for himself. He showed up early. He stayed late. He worked with the training staff not just on his elbow but on his entire mechanics, using the time away from competitive pitching to study opposing lineups, refine his pitch sequencing, and build physical strength in areas that would allow him to handle a full starting rotation workload when the time came. Dave Roberts, speaking to reporters during spring training, said that watching Yamamoto go through his recovery was one of the more impressive things he has witnessed in his time managing in the major leagues. Roberts noted that there was never a single moment where Yamamoto asked for sympathy or lowered expectations for himself. He set internal benchmarks, met them, and immediately raised them again. And now, those benchmarks have led to this moment. According to sources, Yamamoto's declaration to the coaching staff was backed up by everything the Dodgers have seen on the mound over the past several weeks. In his most recent live pitching sessions at spring training, Yamamoto has been touching 97 and 98 miles per hour consistently with his fastball. But more importantly, the secondary pitches, the splitter that made him virtually unhittable in Japan and the sharp breaking ball that he has spent years perfecting, are both back at full sharpness. One Dodgers pitching staff member, speaking anonymously, described watching Yamamoto's recent bullpen session as a reminder of exactly why the organization invested so heavily in him. "You can see it in how he moves on the mound," the source said. "The confidence, the precision. This is not a pitcher who is testing himself. This is a pitcher who already knows what he has and is ready to use it." The numbers from his spring training appearances have only reinforced that impression. In his most recent outing, Yamamoto went through multiple simulated innings, faced live batters, and generated consistent weak contact and swings and misses on his splitter. The reports coming out of Arizona described a pitcher who looks physically fresher than many expected and mentally as locked in as ever. When the news of Yamamoto's return declaration began circulating, the reaction in Japan was immediate and overwhelming. Japanese sports networks broke into their regular programming to cover the story. Former NPB stars took to television and social media to express excitement. The phrase "Yamamoto is back" became one of the top trending topics across Japanese social platforms within hours of the report surfacing. Fans who had followed his journey through surgery and rehabilitation with a mixture of hope and anxiety suddenly felt all of that tension release at once. The emotional response from Japan goes far beyond casual baseball fandom. Yamamoto represents something deeply meaningful to an entire nation that has invested decades of pride in its baseball tradition. The NPB has sent many players to the major leagues, but Yamamoto arrived with the explicit expectation that he would not just compete, he would dominate. His contract was not a courtesy. It was a declaration from the Dodgers that this pitcher belongs among the elite arms in all of baseball. A prominent Japanese sports commentator noted, "What Yamamoto is doing right now is not just a personal comeback. It is a statement about Japanese baseball. Every pitch he throws this season will carry the expectations of millions of people who believe in what he represents. The pressure is immense, but from everything we are seeing, he is embracing it completely." The timing of Yamamoto's return also carries enormous strategic significance for the Dodgers. Coming into the 2026 season, Los Angeles enters with perhaps the most star-studded roster in the sport. Shohei Ohtani headlines the lineup as both a hitter and a returning two-way player. Freddie Freeman continues to be one of the most reliable hitters in the game. The bullpen has been reinforced, but the one area that carried a question mark, the area that opposing teams were quietly hoping would remain uncertain, was the starting rotation. With Clayton Kershaw's status no longer guaranteed and questions surrounding depth behind Tyler Glasnow, the Dodgers needed a healthy Yamamoto far more than they were willing to publicly admit. A fully operational Yamamoto at the top of the rotation does not just add one more quality starter. It changes the entire dynamic of how the Dodgers approach a 162-game season and, more importantly, a deep postseason run. Opposing managers have already spoken in broad terms about how a healthy Yamamoto complicates their game planning against Los Angeles. When Ohtani is in the lineup and Yamamoto is on the mound, you are dealing with two of the most individually difficult challenges in baseball appearing in the same series. There is no comfortable game in that situation. There is no easy day. Brandon Gomez, the Dodgers general manager, has remained measured in his public comments, but sources indicate that internally the organization feels a significant shift in confidence around the 2026 season with Yamamoto's return declaration now on the table. The plan that was always in place, build around Ohtani, invest in pitching, stay healthy, is now fully intact in a way it has not been since Yamamoto went down 2 years ago. There are still challenges ahead that Yamamoto and the Dodgers will need to navigate carefully. The World Baseball Classic represents one of those complications. As a cornerstone of the Japanese national team, Yamamoto carries immense responsibility at the WBC, and the physical demands of competing in that tournament while also preparing for a full MLB season require careful management. The Dodgers coaching staff has reportedly been in close communication with the Japanese national team's coaching staff to ensure that Yamamoto's workload is monitored and that the spring training momentum he has built does not get disrupted by an overly aggressive WBC schedule. Dave Roberts addressed this directly, saying that every element of Yamamoto's preparation plan leading into and through the WBC has been carefully mapped out. The goal is not to limit Yamamoto but to protect the foundation he has built so that when opening day arrives, he is not only healthy but at peak competitive sharpness. For Yamamoto himself, the WBC represents something personal beyond any organizational planning. Pitching for Japan has always been a source of deep motivation for him. Representing his country on a global stage, with the weight of national expectations fully behind him, is not a burden he carries reluctantly. It is a responsibility he has always embraced with everything he has. The picture that is emerging from Arizona this spring training is one that Dodgers fans have been waiting 2 years to see. A pitcher who arrived with historic expectations, lost his first season to injury, rebuilt himself from the ground up, and has now walked back into the room and told everyone exactly where he stands. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is not easing back. He is not managing expectations. He is not asking anyone to be patient. He is declaring himself ready. And all of Japan and all of Los Angeles is watching every single pitch. You can repair a roster. You can adjust a rotation. But when a generational talent rediscovers himself after the hardest year of his career and comes back with that kind of fire in his eyes, there is nothing in baseball quite like it. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to follow the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with the biggest MLB fan you know.